Hello, my name is Joshua and welcome to part 2 of my explanation of the Queen Iceburg. I'm filming this like 6 months after I recorded the first video because I just gave up on the project, to be honest. But I finally regained the courage to start part 2. So yeah, if you've missed part 1, I guess I'll leave it somewhere up there, down there, I don't know. But if you are all caught up, then let's jump straight back into the action. During the 88-89 period, there were plans for a 6-show tour across the UK named the Miracle Pavilion, and the opening or closing show was going to take place at the Dominion Theatre. The band had thought of ways to conceal Freddie's health as well, including being taken off stage for lengthy periods of time while the rest of the band would improvise. There were also talks of filming one of the shows for a VHS, which would have been released in the summer of 89. Ultimately, the tour was cancelled due to Freddie's health declining faster than expected, and the rare live VHS was released instead, showing clips from past shows. This one pretty much explains itself. A baby was born in the crowd sometime during the evening and is the youngest ever person to attend a Queen concert. In 2012, Brian and Roger announced that they wanted to track down this person, who had been 25 at the time, but unfortunately didn't find them. Originally named I Don't Want to Be a Rolling Stone, this was a demo recorded by the band and later with Barry during the Hot Space sessions in Mountain Studios, and later evolved into the B-side to Radio Gaga I Go Crazy. Brian recalls this session in a recent interview, saying that it was very different to the version that we started off with when David was around. In 1974, Trident Studios, Queen's record company at the time, wanted the band to release a live album, and so recorded their performances at the Rainbow in both March and November, with all recordings also filmed and due to be released as a performance film along with the album. In the end, the project was forgotten, probably due to the successful release of the third album, Sheer Heart Attack, in November. It was released in the form of bootlegs in the following decades until 2014, when it was officially released. I'm pretty sure this is just a misheard lyric from the operatic section of Bo Rap, possibly a case of the Mandela effect. Weirdly, Metro Lyrics actually has this written as the song's lyrics, along with an added "and." Assassin is a yet-to-be-released demo created in the Innuendo sessions, which is confirmed to exist by Queen archivist Greg Brooks. There is not much information about the track other than that it's an early demo of Innuendo and sounds similar to Led Zeppelin's Kashmir. Greg, however, denied the fact that it was an Innuendo outtake, leaving us with not much of a description of what it sounds like. This track is infamous for its fake demo on YouTube, which includes a laughably bad vocalist attempting to imitate Freddie. A version of Play the Game featuring the Bee Gees' younger brother Andy Gibb is said to exist from the 1980 spring issue of the Fan Club magazine. According to the magazine, Freddie was impressed with Andy's vocal abilities and so invited him onto the track. Queen producer Reinhold Mack has also confirmed that this version does in fact exist, but it is unknown if the tapes have survived over the years. This was an incident at the University of Stirling. When the band refused to play a fourth encore, riots were caused. Sound systems were heavily damaged, 2 people were stabbed, and a few crew members and Roger were injured and taken to hospital. The crowd stormed onto the stage where Freddie, Roger and 2 roadies were standing. Freddie was the only one on stage who managed to get off in time. The royal family were a group of dedicated fans who followed the band around to their live performances. They taped most performances and met the band regularly. They are also big collectors and are rumored to have studio rarities, as well as a studio recording of Hangman. Queen respected and liked the royal family, and Freddie even mentioned them in the 1979 Paris performance. Splixblack, who's a member of the royal family, wrote about what it was like to be part of the group, and I'll leave a link to his post in the description below. Right, so it turns out that the post that I was just talking about right now has just been deleted, so unfortunately you can't see that, but I just wanted to mention it. Something so deep and so dear to life I found that this was a performance at the Beacon Theatre in New York. According to Freddie, whilst he was at the front of the stage, two girls were fighting over the scarf around his neck. He said that he was nearly strangled, and the incident left him with a few bruises. Albert was the name of a guitar player for a band that John Deacon created in 1970, just named Deacon. The band played one gig in Chelsea College in London in November that year before disbanding soon after. The band also included Don Carter on drums and Peter Stoddard on additional guitar. The unusual thing about Albert though is that unlike the other members, nothing is known about him, not even his full name. According to Spider, these threats took place between the Dublin and Glasgow shows and were sent by a group of very extreme fans called the Royal Family, whom I talked about previously. Supposedly, they wrote a message to the band saying that if they didn't play Liar in their next show, Newcastle, they wouldn't come out of there alive. It is not detailed in the information that I could find if the whole group sent this message or if it was just a few, but nonetheless, Queen played the track. On the 8th of January, Freddie performed a few songs with a band called Taxi in the Hog's Grunt pub in Cricklewood. Taxi was a band created by Peter Straker, who was friends with Freddie at the time. Freddie had actually produced a few of Peter's albums, and he most notably appears in drag with Roger and Freddie in the Great Pretender video. A video snippet of the performance has recently surfaced on YouTube, and a full recording is known to exist. This was Queen's first and only performance in New Zealand due to the performance not even selling out. Queen were half an hour late on stage due to Freddie getting drunk with Spandau Ballet's Tony Hadley, who was there because his New Zealand dates were cancelled. His manager told him to keep a low profile, which he obviously didn't do as he joined Freddie on stage for a performance of Jailhouse Rock. Tony was too drunken to know a single word to the song though, and ended up singing Tutti Frutti instead. Roger recalled in 2011 that the first half an hour of the gig was terrifying for Brian, Roger and himself, as they had to work extra hard to make up for the constant mistakes that Freddie was making. From a quick date search, I found that this was a performance at Tottenham Mayfair. It was a really small venue for Queen at the time, with only a few hundred in the audience. The lighting rig was too big to fit in the venue, so they instead resorted to spotlights. You Make Me Happy When I'm About to Die is a cut lyric from the 1991 song Delilah from the album Innuendo. The track is the most playful and humorous of the album, and this lyric inclusion would give the song a much darker tone. Freddie, who was suffering severely from AIDS at the time, wrote the song as a final farewell to his cat Delilah, and this original line makes it all the more clear. I couldn't find much about this, but in their 1984 performance in Dublin, they performed the A Day at the Races outro instead of the usual God Save the Queen, due to threats being made against the group saying that they would bomb the venue if they played it. This crazy event managed to happen on the same night as a birth and on Freddie's final performance with the band. A crazy fan decided to climb a lighting tower to get a better view of the performance, but accidentally fell onto someone who was clearly not very happy with this. He pulled out a knife, stabbed the man, and left him to bleed to death. So when the crowd called an ambulance, but by the time they had arrived, it was too late. Freddie said upon learning about the fan's death that if people have to die because they want to see them, he'll never perform live again. Queen's first concert in Mexico wasn't the greatest for them. They had planned to play 9 concerts but only played 3 due to behind the scenes issues, most notably with the Mexican crew who were treating the band poorly. Another reason was due to the band and their crew being given fake KFC. They realised after tasting the food that this was no ordinary Kentucky Fried Chicken. After being analysed a day later in LA, they turned out to be deep fried rats and kittens. This obviously scared the band and they flew to the US to sort things out. They reluctantly returned a few days later to play 2 more shows, and things got even worse. Their one toilet didn't even have a lock. The band's crew were forced to eat the local food, which caused them to be sick regularly. Various objects were thrown at the band throughout the show, most notably shoes, which Freddie got progressively frustrated with, and Brian was hit by socks full of dirt during his bow rap solo. This was due to most of the crowd being drunk, and Freddie walking out at the start of the show with a sombrero, which the crowd took offence to. Most of Freddie's frustration can be heard in the audience recording that can be found online, and I'll show you a few clips of it now to give you a taste.
Come on, motherfuckers, let's get the beat. Gonna stay around, gonna stay around, gonna stay around. I think I go home, I think I go home, I think I go home right now, right now. Thank you for the shoes. Adios, amigos, you motherfuckers. You want your tacos? Goodbye. Ciao.
The band ended up having to sign a legal document ensuring they would return the following night to prevent riots. Because of the events of these shows, concerts were banned in Puebla for the next 10 years. In the winter 1981 official fan club magazine, Roger wrote, "Glad to be back from Mexico. It was hell, difficult to say the least. Nasty authorities, corrupt officials and food poisoning, plus risk of death, etc. Apart from that, it was wonderful." Queen's first 3 performances at the Sun City are usually cited as their worst, mainly due to Freddie's vocal state at the time. According to Peter Freestone, Freddie's assistant, Freddie was given steroids to help him with his tight throat after the first performance. A fan also said that Freddie was rubbing his throat a lot during the second performance. On the 3rd night, Freddie stood up from his piano and left the stage with tears of disappointment after losing his voice on the 4th song, Somebody to Love. The auditorium went dark and the crowd, suspecting Freddie to return, did the stomp stomp clap of We Will Rock You. Not long after the show, organiser appeared on stage and announced that the show was over. The night before, Freddie had partied so hard that he missed the 2 PM sound check the next day. He was extremely hungover and was puking side stage, and according to a fan who attended the concert, was spitting up blood during the show, which could be early signs of his AIDS. This was the only time in performance history that Queen didn't manage to finish a show as planned. Following dates, October 9th and 10th, were cancelled due to this. They returned to play 2 more concerts on the 14th and 19th of October after Freddie was recovered and well. This one is a bit anticlimactic, but a concert reviewer went to several of Queen's concerts to review in the latest issue of the Windsor Star. Somehow, he misheard of Freddie's name, thinking it was Eric, and is referred to this throughout the review. So, shooting heck. So there you have it. There you have the Queen Iceburg, all explained. There you go, right there. Hope you enjoyed this video as much as I have researching and compiling this information for you. And thanks to Spider the Duck for creating this iceberg. If you like this video, please leave a like, obviously. And if you didn't like this video, then please leave a dislike. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.